traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
The holidays are a perfect time to treat yourself to an exceptional meal out, a truly delicious fine dining experience where you savor every bite. This is what you can expect at Region Kitchen and Bar in Barrington, home of some of the finest quality regional American food in the northwestern suburbs. Chef David Perlick is very passionate about pleasing the palate. His field and stream menu includes juicy USDA prime steak, flown-in fresh seafood, and an amazing array of house-made desserts. The craft cocktails are exactly what you're reaching for. Region's vibe is upscale yet relaxing with tufted velvet boots, Wisconsin birch accents, white leather, and super comfy dining chairs. Celebrate the season dining in style. Make a reservation and check out the menu at regionrestaurant.com. From now through the end of the year, purchase a $100 gift card and receive a bonus $25 gift card for yourself. Region Kitchen and Bar, 2 miles west of downtown Barrington on Route 14. regionrestaurant.com.
Quick delivery service, what do you need delivered?
Hi, we're trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for our boss. Can you deliver a Barbie to Bonnie and Bartlett?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver Legos to Landon and Lamont?
We can deliver that.
Can you deliver pickleball paddles to Pam and Palatine?
We can deliver that.
Hey, big guy, quick delivery service can help.
More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or air shipment. The safe, licensed Quick Delivery Service team offers quick door-to-door service. No chimney required. Quick Delivery Service also does not deliver packages in a sleigh driven by 9 reindeer. Place your order today. Visit quickdelivery.com. That's quickdelivery.com.
Hello, this is Randy Seiler from Quick Delivery Service in Schaumburg, Illinois. From our family to yours, wishing you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in 2025.
Attention American homeowners, you're under attack. Your home and equity could be vulnerable to cyber thieves. There's only one company that completely stops them, and that company is Equity Protect. Equity Protect prevents any attempts to steal your home, equity, and ownership 24/7. Get your free risk report today by texting the word HOME to 94878. That's right, text the word HOME to 94878 to get your free risk report. Keep your equity and legacy safe with Equity Protect.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining me on this holiday weekend. We're just kicking off the Christmas season here. So if you're driving around your car, getting those last-minute gifts, maybe going to the grocery store, you still have a couple more days to do that, by the way. But don't turn the channel because we got a lot to talk about. And especially if you live in Illinois, I think you'll find this show very interesting. Let's start out, though, with 2 really important stories. One, and as a mother of a Navy pilot myself, I'm absolutely distraught over the fact that our own ships shot down 2 Navy pilots in a friendly fire accident. Wall Street Journal wrote it. 2 U.S. Navy pilots ejected from their jet fighter over the Red Sea after being caught in an apparent case of friendly fire. Now, I will say this. I know a little bit, not much, more than what has been written about, but actually nothing, of course, that it's top secret or anything. But I'll be honest with you, what we do know is that the Truman, which is the aircraft carrier group that's in the area, is brand new to that region. They just got there about a week ago. And, these people don't deploy all the time. They're not always shot at. They're not always taking in fire from the Houthis, which is what is happening. The Houthis are firing missiles. And apparently this act of friendly fire is probably the misinterpretation of a missile coming in to the ship. And instead it was a U.S. Navy aircraft. And so somebody, you only have a few seconds to make that decision. So how this happened, nobody knows yet exactly how it happened. But we can suppose that there were obviously systems that were maybe not engaged. I mean, after all, we have systems where you can tell friendly or foe. devices. You've got the carrier group, who is the main vehicle or vessel that needs to be protected and is actually doing a lot of the work. You're, sending off aircraft to go and fire missiles right back at Houthi strong points in Yemen. But the rest of the battle group is there to protect the aircraft carrier. So somebody wasn't talking to somebody. And we don't know yet, but it sounds like this F-18, it's a two-seater, so there were 2 pilots in it, had just taken off and was misinterpreted possibly for a missile. So there's no doubt that somebody in that chain of command is definitely going to lose their position, probably taken out of that position right now, whoever made that decision to fire on the F-18. But there's a lot more to be concerned about here. And why is this happening? Honestly, the Navy has not had to exercise its battle muscles as much as the Army has had to over the last 20 years of fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so maybe they're not used to it. And like I said before, the Truman is new to the region, new to the area, new to possibly having missiles in the air around them and understanding what that means. And but we can't have this. We cannot have this. And so I'm looking forward to some answers from that. Of course, the other alarming story was the fact that 200 people were injured and at least 5 people lost their lives after a man plowed into a car into crowds at a Christmas market in the German city of Magdeburg. Now, I was just in Germany at the Christmas markets a week ago. And so, well, actually 10 days ago. And so this kind of hits close to home. This could have happened at any Christmas market at any time. And while we were there, of course, there were lots of Palestinians at the same time doing their marches through Christmas markets to try and disrupt the Christmas spirit, disrupt what has been a tradition. Katja Hoyer wrote in The Spectator, she says, like many Germans, I felt a deep burning anger rising in me when I heard about the incident. It immediately brought back sickening memories of the 2016 Christmas market attack in Berlin, in which 13 people were killed and dozens injured. Yeah. This is very disturbing. She said, regardless of the specific motivations of the perpetrator, the psychological effect of his act of terror will be profound. Christmas markets are important cultural and social institutions in Germany, visited by millions each year. An attack on them feels personal to anyone who's ever gone to one because it could have been them in the wrong place at the wrong time. And there's no doubt there's a lot to find out about the perpetrator. He was caught. He'll obviously be questioned relentlessly. We'll see what he comes true. He is apparently of Saudi by background, and then came to Germany and says that he's very anti-Islamist. However, there is now other reports popping up on the internet that it might have been just a false presentation, and that actually he's about he's actually a proponent of some of that that religion. So I don't know. We'll have to find out more. But it's very disturbing to see our cultural institutions attacked, to see our military have a friendly fire incident with 2 Navy pilots having to eject from the plane. They easily could have been killed in the situation. Easily. Ejecting itself is a dangerous thing. So a lot of unanswered questions here. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, though. And before I go any further, I did want to bring this up because this is pretty good. This is Democratic National Committee Finance member Lindy Lee. Listen to what she told Piers Morgan's on his show Uncensored.
My donors are pissed. They raised $2.5 billion across Super PAC in the campaign. It's my responsibility. It's my duty of care to ask what the hell happened with that money? Why did we spend it? Why did we spend millions of dollars on 5-star hotels for campaign staffers? Why did we spend $500,000 essentially bribing Al Sharpton moments before he interviewed Kamala? These are legitimate questions, but no, in the cult, you can't ask questions. Yeah. And leaving the Democratic Party or even questioning the Democratic Party is like leaving a cult. It's terrifying.
Wow. Okay, that's great news. There's a lot of truth coming out after the campaign. She could have said this in the middle of the campaign. What would if she had said something different? Had they had won and still wasted $2 billion? I mean, come on. All right. Okay, but you got a lot of Democrats jumping ship, and then you've got a lot of people actually doing very thoughtful commentary about what about the Trump win? What created the Trump win? Why is this different? And I got to tell you, I personally feel like we are in revolutionary times. Not just technologically, but culturally, we are in revolutionary times. And as politics is downstream from culture, then we have to be paying attention to what's happening in the culture if we want to get the politics correct too. And I know I mentioned, the Navy incident. I mentioned what happened in Germany. To some degree, you have to wonder if this isn't all part of what's maybe happened in the last decade of, wokeness in the military. Don't know if that's really been the factor at all here. Have no idea. How about training? How about not as much emphasis on that? Certainly wokeness in the political stream when you have people coming into your country that you really don't know much about and they have not assimilated. That's definitely an issue. But there's a really, really good article on that, and I'm going to get to that later in the program. But right now we're going to go to break early because I have retired U.S. Army Colonel Roman Golash in. He is my Ukrainian expert because he lives in Illinois. He's got family in Ukraine. He understands the situation there. He's worked in Ukraine as a U.S. Army officer. And so we haven't talked to about Ukraine lately. We're going to get right back to it with Roman right after this break.
Hut, hut. Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
2 weeks after I had been taken, after I had started taking them, I told the wife, I said, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm 20 years old. Ever since, I just stayed on it. And I'm not the most educated guy, but anyhow, I'm not the dumbest guy in the area. And I do know what they got in there, just reading on it and everything. I'm pleased with it. Anybody I speak to, I convince them right away that give it a try.
Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday night. I'm Jeannie Ives. This is the real story, and we focus a lot on Illinois issues mainly, or we bring in Illinois experts on other issues, and that's the case this time. I'm bringing in Lieutenant Colonel Roman Golash. He is a former colonel in the U.S. Army, but he's also my Ukrainian expert. And it's been a while since I've had Roman on. There's been a lot of things in the Ukraine situation that don't make sense to many of us. And so I like to have Roman come in because I want to hear exactly what he knows, because he speaks very frequently, multiple times a week, with his relatives that are still over there. And there's so much to discuss now, especially as we move into the Trump administration, who I think will end up solving this situation. Whether or not it's going to be beneficial to more beneficial to one side or the other. We don't know yet. Obviously, kicking the Russians completely out of Ukraine may be darn near impossible at this point. Should never happen in the first place that they came over. Roman, are you there?
Yes, Jeannie,
Okay.
I'm here.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on my show. I mean, there is a lot going on. You've got a ballistic missile warfare going on between both countries. You've got deep strikes going on, which was not even really happening as much, I would say, even 6 months ago. I think that might have been the last time that we discussed things, but they're getting deeper and deeper. I know that your family's in the western edge of Ukraine, and why don't we just start with that? What is different now about the war in Ukraine that wasn't so much different, that wasn't that way 6 months ago?
Well, there's several things that strike me that are very, very different. Putin actually challenged President Trump to a missile duel using his new rocket called the Oreshnik. And he says it's better than any of his, and he challenged America to see, or Ukraine as well, see if you can shoot it down if he aims it at the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv, which is kind of a ridiculous type of format to use for him. But that's one thing going on. The other thing that's going on is that President Biden did not allow any incursions of American-made rockets into Russia, which kind of made Ukraine fight with both hands behind her back. How can you not attack the enemy? But they relented and allowed it. And actually, they're not really long-range rockets, because long-range rockets are defined as 5,000 kilometers. These are actually short-range, but they do go about 200 miles into. And what the Ukrainians are aiming are exclusively bases where there's ammo, airplanes, airfields, not civilian structures. On the other hand, Russia is almost exclusively aiming civilian targets. They're pushing into Kherson right now. They just bombed a oncology hospital in Kherson, I guess hoping for radiation leakage coming out. They're still pushing in Kursk, where they have a bunch of Koreans there fighting Ukrainians, which didn't amount to much of a response from the international community.
North Koreans, a bunch of North Koreans there, and that doesn't seem to be working out for them that well.
It's not. They're dying in huge numbers, and the Russians are taking dead bodies and burning their faces so that they can't be recognized. So that's the big thing going on. Putin is trying to get as much territory before January 20th. And the Ukrainians are doing the best they can with what they have to hold them back. The Ukrainians are striking deeper and deeper with their own drones. They actually have attacked multiple oil refineries. This past week, they hit Kazan, which is way east of Moscow, about 1,000 kilometers. And actually, they've been active in Murmansk, which is close to the Arctic Circle, which in itself is this big story, since that's going to be the next area of conflict with the Russians, with all the oil deposits and mineral deposits there. So that's basically what's going on right now. They also, the Ukrainians killed a Russian general who.
Yeah, I was looking at that. That's within the last week they take out this Russian general. How significant is that? And is there now retribution that is expected from Putin, specific retribution or not?
He was targeted because he was responsible for using gas against the Ukrainians, and specifically he's been using chloropicrin, which is a tear gas on steroids, and you can actually die from it. And what the Russians do is they set these bomblets out. The gas gets into the bunkers where the Ukrainians are. Gas goes down to the bottom. They can't breathe. It's their mucosa and their lungs, and they try to evacuate, and that's when the Russians hit them. So the Ukrainians hit back. So that was done. But on the good news, Ukraine is building up their own weaponry. they announced several weapons. One is the Trident, which is a laser-based weapon system that can knock down flying aircraft 2 miles away. And then they've also developed their own, what they call Pekla, which means hell. It's a drone with a jet engine, and it can fly close to 500 miles per hour. It has a payload of 110 pounds of explosives, and very hard to hit.
Well, it seems to me that, the first order of business for Trump is going to be solving the Ukraine situation, the war with Russia, because it feels as if the Iranian, attacks through its satellites is actually petering out, and they're kind of on the run, or they're being quiet at this point. So the bigger national security issue or national interest issue would be Ukraine. Obviously. I mean, so you're hanging on for 29 days. Is that the feeling of the people? How are they feeling, and how's it going? I mean, you're deep into winter. How are their supplies in terms of
their
power and
infrastructure
food and everything else?
Their infrastructure, even Western Ukraine, has been hit.
Mm-hmm.
Even our own family, when I call here, it's 3 p.m., it's about 11 p.m. there. They're talking to me with candlelight because the lights have been shut off. So they don't have any electricity. They're managing so far. It's not causing a tremendous amount of problems. They're getting generators in there. So even in the cities, when they lose electricity, all the different shops have generators, and they start hooking those up. So those are pretty good. The populace is waiting with anticipation for President Trump to take office. The military looks upon President Trump as a doer, decisive leader, and they're hoping and praying that they will come out okay. The big thing is not to have a false peace and then go back to war 2 years later. So they're very positive about Lieutenant General Kellogg being the envoy to Ukraine, and they're looking forward to working with them.
And why is that?
Overall,
why is that? What is it about Lieutenant General Kellogg? Is there anything specific, or is it just in general that?
Well, he's been to Ukraine before.
Okay.
So he's visited there. Plus, his stature. Lieutenant General, with all the work he's done in the military, he served in President Trump's administration in the first term, and so they kind of like what he stands for, because most of our generals are patriotic and are for freedom.
Okay, I'm going to say our generals are patriotic. It just feels that some of them are a little bit off.
Some are,
but I mean, I'm not saying that about Kellogg at all. Don't get me wrong. I just wanted to, there's this
right.
There's issues in the military.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing in Ukraine that they're talking widely about is how Russia is kind of losing its grip on power. They look upon the Syria situation, in which they're being kicked out. They're being moving out of Syria. And at the same time, Georgia is having demonstrations against Russian rule. Armenia is getting out of their alliance with Russia. Romania, Russia tried to swerve the elections towards a guy that wasn't known, and so they are having their elections over again. Moldova is trying to just hang in there with Transnistria next to them, with the Russians there. So all this is interesting for Ukrainians because they see Putin losing his grip. He's losing his power around the globe, and hopefully that'll impact him in Ukraine. But he's trying to emphasize or put all his eggs in one basket right now to do as much damage to Ukraine as possible.
Well, it's really a testament to the Ukrainian people to take what people thought would be a 3-day war, and Putin would be on the footsteps of the capital of Kyiv, and then turn it into, holding out for almost 3 years now, and actually inflicting some damages on the Russian military and actually the Russian people, taking out some pretty important infrastructure places. But I mean, it's a little bit shocking that they were able to do this. And I don't know that anybody expected this. So now, in light of that, what is the expectation from a Ukrainian standpoint? What is the best that they can hope for if Trump comes in and helps cut a deal?
Well, what they're hoping for is a lasting peace, not to have a pseudo peace in which something is signed, like the Budapest Memorandum was kind of became a warning to them, but to have a peace that'll sustain itself. And so all Ukrainians are hoping for eventually having NATO membership. I don't think that's going to happen immediately. It would be wonderful if it did, but I do think there's going to be transitions. And one of the transitions that they're looking at is placing about 100,000 EU troops, European Union troops, in Ukraine to be a buffer, having forward operating bases there. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, kind of letting things settle down. And then not an organization, but a task force called the Joint Expeditionary Force, which actually has been in existence since 2014. These are quick reaction forces of European countries. It appears that right now they're reforming. They not only have the players they had before, the Baltic countries, Poland, Romania, but now they've added Sweden and Finland, and they're to protect Northern Europe. A quick reaction force to kind of become engaged even before Article 5 is invoked. So
you're saying set up these forward operating bases, these quick reaction forces under an expeditionary task force that has been used in the past. Are you meaning then we would put U.S. troops in Ukraine as well? Or would these be strictly European troops?
Yes, I think this goes by President Trump's philosophy that the Europeans should be in the forefront. And just this past month, it was announced that NATO Europe is going to take the bulk of logistics for transferring military aid to Ukraine instead of the United States.
Okay. Hey, that's all we have time for. I want to thank you so much for your insight on this situation. It is one of the most critical things that President Trump has to solve when he gets in office. He's Roman Golash, retired U.S. Army colonel, and Illinois. And thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story.
Charlie Kirk sees the Democrats scrambling for answers.
Let me remind you of something. That we complain a lot about how they control the media. It turns out these Democrat donors at a conference and a retreat are wondering, how is it that Turning Point and this army that we were told didn't exist beat us?
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
News, I'm Deborah Valentine. President-elect Trump delivering remarks at Turning Point USA's America Fest in Phoenix, Arizona, bordering Mexico, with the president-elect saying he'll quickly secure the border.
You just have a few days to wait. We're going to be fully operational, I would say, by about 2 o'clock on the 20th.
The New York Post reporting a Guatemalan migrant has been arrested for allegedly lighting a sleeping subway rider on fire in Brooklyn Sunday morning, causing the rider's death. New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
The suspect used what we believe to be a lighter to ignite the victim's clothing, which became fully engulfed in a matter of seconds.
The commissioner called it one of the most depraved crimes one person could possibly commit. Police have not yet officially identified the victim. America's listening to Fox News.
The weather is starting to turn to fall, and before you know it, the snow will be flying. Are your tires prepared for the rain and snow? Remke's Garage sells the most popular tire for this Chicago weather, the Toyo Celsius. Why Toyo, you ask? The Toyo Celsius tire has been uniquely engineered to help you specifically navigate Chicago's extreme weather and road conditions. Not only is the tire the most round, minimizing irregular wear, the asymmetric tread design is able to handle the crazy Chicago weather when it starts raining one minute, icy the next, and snowing within a few more minutes. Have peace of mind when going down the road that your tires are prepared for the conditions. So, Why wait? Stop by Remke's Garage today and let their team inspect your tires and get you on the road with confidence. Visit us at remkesgarage.com. That's remkesgarage.com. REMKES, remkesgarage.com. Remke's Garage, repairing America.
Fentanyl kills 400 Americans per day. The new documentary, Fentanyl, Death Incorporated, explores this deadly epidemic.
It is the equivalent of a 747 going down every 2 days.
Where is all of this stuff coming from?
Supply chains, super labs, open borders, letting it all in.
All roads lead back to China.
They're killing our children. And how do we change that?
Don't miss Fentanyl, Death Incorporated. It could save someone you love. Watch it now at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. President-elect Donald Trump's popularity has reached a 7-year high, and the majority of Americans approve of his handling of this transition process. It's a direct quote from a recent report in Forbes. 55% think Donald Trump is handling his transition well. Let me insert a quick point of contrast here. In 2016, at this time in the year, Trump had just 40% approval. These new numbers are nothing short of astonishing. My proposition is simple. Trump's new approval rating is because, wait for it, Trump. Trump is more popular today than he's ever been before because Americans like optimism, and Trump's not only selling hope, he really believes in it. He loves this great country. The numbers that support him reflect the nation's affection for an elected leader who believes in the country and its essential goodness and says so again and again and again. If you are wishing the country well, you should be hoping that Trump's numbers, like those in the markets, continue to rise.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Thank you for joining me tonight. The phone number here is 312-642-5600 if you want to weigh in. A lot to talk about. And my next guest joins me to talk about Chicago's corruption and crime. The two go hand in hand. His name is Martin Preib. He's a retired Chicago police officer and the author of 3 books, The Wagon and Other Stories from the City, Crooked City, and Burn Patterns. And Martin, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking some time tonight to be with us, particularly on this topic. And it is interesting because so much of the things that we talk about with crime, it used to be, we talked more about crime that was happening, in and amongst the gangs in Chicago, native-born crime. More and more we're seeing crime that is happening from all these massive amounts of migrants that have come over. And in fact, a new Center for Immigration Studies says that there's about 530,000 illegals in the state of Illinois alone. Most of them, of course, reside in Chicago, a sanctuary city inside of a sanctuary state. And, it is hitting home. I mean, the crime is a problem, and now it's becoming with the foreign-born. So we're gonna clash here soon, I think, with the Donald Trump administration. I think they're going to come in. They're going to start to clean things up, and that could make for some very interesting times in Chicago. How do you see it in terms of the Trump agenda coming to Chicago, and whether or not, you're a former CPD, how are they going to respond in the midst of all this? Is their leadership going to let them follow federal law? Is the leadership going to lay down, follow Pritzker's law, which isn't really law? What do you see coming on the horizon?
Well, I think that it's going to be a tough decision for the police. I mean, are they going to follow the federal law? Are they going to follow the local policy?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're in their hearts, many of them would prefer the federal law, because we see every day how bad the crime is with a lot of these people coming over.
Mm-hmm.
It's really bad. And so, I just guess it's going to be a face-off, a real tough face-off. And I think the union's going to have to get involved. And, I don't think the mayor is going to be able to just tell the police to do something and they're just going to do it. I mean, they're going to want to know that they're covered, that whatever they do, they're covered. And I think a lot of cops only take action if they're ordered to. And even then, as far as like doing what Johnson wants them to do. But I think the cops, by and large, would like to. I think they like Holman, they like Trump. A lot of them, at least they like the policy, but I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's kind of a real wait and see. It's a tough decision. I think that's one reason a lot of cops are retiring. They don't want to deal with this kind of stuff anymore.
I mean, I can completely understand that. If your leadership doesn't have your back, then why would you put yourself in harm's way? I mean, it's a super dangerous world out there. So
leadership in Chicago never has the back of the police in Chicago ever. They just throw them under the bus constantly.
Well, and you've written about much of that, what's gone on in terms of all sorts of other corruption stories. So, I mean, that's a whole nother hour. But I did want to get to this because you feel so strongly about what Trump's capable of doing and helping clean up the city that you wrote a letter to him. Dear President Trump, you wrote, as a retired police officer, former vice president of the Fraternal Order of Police in Chicago, and a writer investigating corruption in Chicago, I want to congratulate you on your stunning victory. Patriotic Americans are filled with a new hope for the country. With you as the president, your commitment, steadfast devotion, and unwavering faith in the American people will no doubt usher a new era of prosperity, peace, and justice. And then you say there's an opportunity with his election that he could reform the deep and malicious corruption that guides Chicago and poses such a devastating threat to the rest of the country. Can you expand on that? I think that's just remarkable. You wrote him a letter, and hopefully we can get that to him.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that there's an unprecedented opportunity for President Trump to put a very strong, aggressive U.S. attorney in the Northern District of Chicago, which is a vacant position right now. And I think that position could restore the essential checks and balances that has been lacking in Chicago in investigating the corruption, especially the corruption against law and order. I think the lawfare that took shape against Trump, that started in Chicago decades ago from the radicals that came from Chicago. They politicized all the institutions. And I think with Trump winning, people are starting to realize how bad and dangerous it is. And if he could put in a good U.S. attorney, and I'm strongly advocating for Maria McCarthy, a 30-year prosecutor in Chicago, we could really uncover, and I would really hope that she would initiate a criminal investigation into 3 Spanish Cobras who were once charged with murdering an off-duty police officer, but Kim Foxx dropped charges against them. One of the most disgusting, appalling decisions by any prosecutor, I think, in the history of the state. This kid was gunned down, working an off-duty job, trying to save for his wedding, and these 3 vicious Spanish Cobras walked free from it. And it's disgusting, and I think that would be like the first great step if they would initiate a criminal investigation into that case. And that would be a good starting point. I'm just worried that President Trump doesn't see the opportunity he has here to go after the real core of the lawfare movement in the Chicago that's centered in Barack Obama's Chicago.
Well, but the Chicago Tribune's all over it. I mean, they did their Culture of Corruption series. They've documented how, they say in this editorial, they've documented how weak laws on campaign finance, ballot access, lobbying, ethics, and oversight, and a Byzantine structure of local government, among other issues, have helped dishonest politicians thrive in Illinois. I got to tell you, I can't believe that this is what I'm reading. And instead, they're not actually digging into what the corruption is. The corruption is part and parcel because they don't actually write the stories. I mean, you also said in a Substack issue that the only legitimate news outlet is CWB Chicago, which does focus on crime in the city, but you don't hear much of what you're talking about written in the pages of the Chicago Tribune.
No, you're right. Lawfare in this country, both against Trump and Chicago, it's rooted in one essential feature, a complete abdication of the media as an independent media, and a politicalization of the media.
Bingo.
And Chicago is the center base of that. I mean, the media in Chicago is just horrendous. They're militantly anti-police. They're militantly left. They ignore all the evidence that proves them wrong. That whole series they did about corruption is, if you want to address Chicago corruption, you address Chicago media corruption first. That's where you start. What they do is they move the cases out of courtrooms where there's rules of evidence, and they move them into the court of public opinion, controlled by this militant journalist.
Yeah.
And that's basically the trick they use to undermine the institutions.
Well,
they do this.
Yeah. You're hitting on a really important topic, and I'm going to take a short break here because I want to come back, and you've given me the best segue into this article written by David Samuels in Tablet. It's a very, very lengthy article, but I want to read a couple passages to you and get your reaction, because exactly what you're talking about is exactly what he has brought forth as part of this sort of revolutionary time that we're in. So hold with me. This is Jeannie Ives. We're going to talk about the rapid onset of political enlightenment, this story by David Samuels. I know I didn't brief you on that ahead of time, Martin, but I do want to get your reaction to some of these passages because what you're saying is spot on. We'll be right back.
Spice supplement into a glass of water with a splash of chilled apple juice to craft an amazing cider. Balance of Nature's Fiber and Spice supplement is made with whole fiber and 12 aromatic spices like cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. Whether you're gathered around the Christmas tree, toasting with friends, or enjoying a quiet moment by the fireplace, our Fiber and Spice supplement welcomes every moment with its comforting embrace. As we approach this special time of year, spice up your Christmas and add the Fiber and Spice supplement to your Christmas list. Cheers to a season filled with joy and flavorful celebrations. Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
The holidays are a perfect time to treat yourself to an exceptional meal out, a truly delicious fine dining experience where you savor every bite. This is what you can expect at Region Kitchen and Bar in Barrington, home of some of the finest quality regional American food in the northwestern suburbs. Chef David Perlick is very passionate about pleasing the palate. His field and stream menu includes juicy USDA prime steak, flown-in fresh seafood, and an amazing array of house-made desserts. The craft cocktails are exactly what you're reaching for. Region's vibe is upscale yet relaxing with tufted velvet boots, Wisconsin birch accents, white leather, and super comfy dining chairs. Celebrate the season dining in style. Make a reservation and check out the menu at regionrestaurant.com. From now through the end of the year, Purchase a $100 gift card and receive a bonus $25 gift card for yourself. Region Kitchen and Bar, 2 miles west of downtown Barrington on Route 14. RegionRestaurant.com.
Life takes a toll on our bodies. No way around it. Whether it's sitting hours on end at your computer or working a physical job, over time your body pays the price. There is, however, an effective way to turn back the clock on pain. Relief Factor. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor helps support your body's response to inflammation. The difference? Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it for good. And it's 100% drug-free. If the pains that come with living a full life are affecting you, do as so many others have. Turn back the clock on pain with Relief Factor. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. When you feel good, it's amazing how much more you get out of life. So visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. Try it for only $19.95. While we can't stop aging, not yet, we can stop pain. Turn back the clock with Relief Factor.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. Hey, listen, on the line with me is Martin Preib. He is a retired Chicago Police Department, and he just hit on something that's really important and very, very prescient, actually, and that's the fact that we were talking about corruption in Chicago and really corruption of the media, and I ran across this tablet article written by David Samuels. It's very lengthy. In fact, if you print it out, it's like 25 pages long. It's ridiculous. So of course I printed it out at AM 560, which is great. But I mean, in this, he talks specifically about the Democrat Party's ability to take on social media, institutionalize it, and change opinions of that. And part of that, and he goes back into Obama's rise as a political figure here in Illinois, and also back to Axelrod. And Axelrod, having actually been a political writer for the Chicago Tribune, I mean, part and parcel what they did in Obama's rise is he got the Chicago Tribune to force out Barack Obama's Senate opponent to force open his divorce records, and then they basically used that against him, and he dropped from the race. So this is exactly what we're talking about here. It is the media that has been so complicit in this, and it all came undone. Well, I mean, they've done so much damage, actually. They have set the world on fire, and only because Trump was able to win in 2024 has this now fire been arrested. It's been put out, and people are far much more aware. But they have used the media, social media, and then they institutionalized it through the political operation once Biden got into office in 2020, and they made that then part of what the DOJ was involved in, the FBI was involved in, the disinformation campaign. They took all that and they pushed it through the lens of social media, and they basically gaslit the entire American public. And I'm shocked because, I don't know, eyes wide open. I think not just me, but quite a few of us knew this was all, we were being fed a bunch of BS, but the elitists believed it because they wanted to be part of the in crowd, and they created that nexus of them wanting to be part of the in crowd. And I got to tell you, Martin, I think part of what you're seeing here is because the media doesn't report on the stories in a specific way about the crime that is affecting people. People think that it's just happening somewhere. It's not gonna happen to them, and they also think that there's not a whole lot they can do about it, or it's like, it's a one-off. What do you think?
That's true. I go to the federal courts all the time, and I follow these lawsuits. And almost every week, there's some bombshell evidence submitted that some claim against the police department or some claim that some maniac killer is innocent is completely undermined. Mm-hmm. It's blatant, obvious. And you'll not find one media outlet in the city who will cover it. Not one. So they work in concert to keep these evidence hidden, and they've been doing it for a long time. And I think the thing you have to remember about Illinois and Chicago is we're a one-party system, and when you're a one-party system, it's much easier to get the media, the judicial system, everybody all on one control of one political party that can do whatever it wants. And That is what Obama tried to impose upon the rest of the country. They wanted to create a one-party system, and hopefully they have failed, or they are failing with the election of Trump. But they're not going to give up, and that's what we're seeing in this country is a real battle between our system of government, our constitutional government, and I just think people are just starting to wake up to that fact that this is what they were all about to begin with. So I agree with that. And, like I said, I go to the federal courts all the time, and I cover the exoneration movement quite a bit. And I see that these killers, a lot of them are illegal immigrants who they release from prison. They go to court and they file these lawsuits, and the attorneys for the detectives just get evidence after evidence that these guys should never have been let out of prison, that they're extremely dangerous, they're predators, and nothing comes out of the federal courts. And it's really sick, twisted thing that's happened in Chicago.
Well, okay, and then now you have that situation where Sheriff Dart is saying, "Look, I don't want to be responsible for the electronic monitoring system anywhere. I'm turning that back over to Chief Judge Evans, and he can handle it. And while the people that are currently on electronic monitoring, we will definitely see those cases through to their end, but we're not taking on any more." And essentially, I think he also did mention, he didn't say it was a joke, but I mean, you can read between the lines. The fact is that we have to monitor them, and then they get off 2 free days where they can do whatever they want. I mean, so where's the reporting on that, really? I mean, they've reported the fact that this is the case, but they don't report the specifics like CWB Chicago does. And I don't know what their number is this year so far of the number of felony arrestees out on electronic monitoring that have then otherwise brutalized, murdered, or hurt other people. I mean, I don't know what their number is this year, but I think it was like in the 50s last year. So,
where would Chicago be without CWB reporting these things? If you didn't have CWB, there would be really no one in the city reporting this stuff. And the CWB shows the power of like one independent, real journalistic outlet just looking at crime, let alone politics and the judicial system and everything else. It's true. I see Dart, he's, these guys on electronic monitoring, from my experience, they really, when you deal with these guys, they didn't come after them. They didn't punish them. Fox pretty much, she destroyed the criminal justice system in Chicago. I mean, she turned it into a free-for-all. Shoplifting, bonds, murders, the Safety Act. This whole state is wholly committed to, seems to me, just chaos.
So is Burke going to be any better, though? Eileen O'Neill?
I hope so.
Burke.
I hope so, but I hope so. But that's why, again, I think this U.S. attorney would be.
I think she's got a lot of things right in front of her face that she could charge right now, and I think she's ignoring it, personally.
Well, I think to be fair, I got to give her some time to get set up there.
Okay.
But I'm going to watch this. If she doesn't reindict those 3 Spanish Cobras for murdering Officer Lewis, that's going to tell me an awful lot about whether she's going to play politics or bring back justice to this city. That to me is the real measure. The Cliff Lewis. I urge your listeners to pay attention to that murder case. These are Spanish Cobras with very dangerous gang members. They just killed this kid.
Well, Martin, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this holiday weekend. I really appreciate it. You've enlightened us a lot, and we'll have you back soon. Thank you so much.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
I went to My Computer Career because I needed job security.
Because I wanted a career in cybersecurity.
I went to My Computer Career because IT jobs are everywhere.
My old job was going nowhere.
I went because I didn't want college loans for the rest of my life.
Because I wanted a career for the rest of my life.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. Classes available online or in person. Financial aid available for qualified students, including the GI Bill. 529 college savings plans accepted.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. Listen, there's so much to discuss. I really do encourage my readers. I want you to go to the tablet, read David Samuel's lengthy article, sit down with a glass of wine and soak it all in. He's just gold. But coming up right after this break, I have Ted Dabrowski, somebody I've worked with for over a decade now, on pensions and school reform and you name it. And he's going to be on to talk about pensions because I know it's not a sexy a sexy topic, but you know what? We have to talk about pensions in the state of Illinois because we have the worst in the country. So join me right after this break. Jeannie Ives on The Real Story.
Better is around the corner in 2025. Feeling better, of course, getting rid of joint pain for once and for all. And QC Kinetics is where it's at. Their patients are able to walk up and down the stairs, sit and get back up. They can finally sleep. Wouldn't it be great to feel normal again? And that could be you. So call QC Kinetics now, today. Say goodbye to shoulder, knee, hip, and back pain. Saturday appointments available, no downtime. Just imagine a new year without achy joints. QC Kinetics uses the healing properties of your own body to attack the root cause of your pain. If you've been told surgery is your best or only option, you deserve a second opinion. Call QC Kinetics. The consultation is free, and you can use HSA and FSA dollars. Live your best life in 2025. Get started now. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app.
Trump blasts the Afghan exit. I'm Deborah Valentine, Fox News. President-elect Trump delivers remarks at Turning Point USA's America Fest in Phoenix, Arizona. The president-elect criticizing President Biden and his handling of the Afghanistan withdrawal.
48 soldiers that were horrifically injured. Nobody ever, they lived and they don't talk about them, but these are incredible warriors that were hurt so badly with the legs and the arms and the face and hurt so badly.
13 U.S. service members were killed. The president-elect also repeated his recent criticism of Panama Canal tolls. In a fiery Truth Social post, Trump claimed the U.S. is being ripped off by high fees that can reach $500,000 for the largest ships. Trump threatened to reclaim ownership if fairness isn't ensured. Reacting, Panama's president, Jose Raul Molino, says every square meter of the Panama Canal and surrounding area belongs to Panama. President Biden signing a bipartisan funding bill Saturday that prevents a government shutdown. Fox's David Spunt has the story.
President Biden, with less than a month in office, did not take any sort of active role, at least publicly, during the negotiations with Republicans. His press secretary blamed the issues on House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republicans. After signing the bill, the president, in a statement, said this agreement represents a compromise, which means neither side got everything it wanted, but it rejects the accelerated pathway to a tax cut for billionaires that Republicans sought, and it ensures ensures the government can continue to operate at full capacity. Here's what passed. Funding stays at current levels until mid-March. It includes more than $100 billion in disaster aid, $10 billion in economic aid for farmers.
The bill did not, however, contain a debt limit increase that President-elect Donald Trump demanded be included. America's listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Overcast overnight with a bit of rain and freezing rain, low 31. Bit of snow, sleet, freezing rain tomorrow morning, cloudy with high 40. Low clouds tomorrow night, low 32, and low clouds Tuesday with high 38. Mostly cloudy Tuesday night, but good weather for Santa. He's got Rudolph, low 34. And then cloudy with occasional rain, Christmas Wednesday with high 41. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Hut, hut. Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
The fentanyl epidemic is killing 400 Americans per day. The new documentary, Fentanyl Death Incorporated, takes a deep dive into this deadly killer.
It is the equivalent of a 747 going down every 2 days.
The 9,000 kilograms that were seized by the HIDTA program last year is sufficient to kill the population of the United States several times over.
Americans age 18 to 45 are the #1 consumers of fentanyl. Our friends, our neighbors, our own family members.
The Surgeon General released the report on the epidemic of loneliness, and that is a real thing.
Where is all of this stuff coming from?
Who's in the fentanyl supply chain? Where are the super labs? How are they using our open borders to cause such devastation?
All roads lead back to China.
The danger is all around us. The time is now.
They're killing our children. And how do we change that?
Don't miss this important documentary report, Fentanyl Death Incorporated. It could save the life of someone you love. Available exclusively at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo. Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560, The Answer.
All right, welcome back. It is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, and the phone number here is 312-642-5600. We will have some time for some callers tonight if you want to call in and weigh in on the conversation. So this is not really a sexy topic, like I said before, but it's a really important topic, and it's the Illinois pension system. There's just been a brand new report that came out essentially saying that, you know what, the pension debt rose again for the third straight year. And it is sitting at about $143.7 billion. That's just shy of the record unfunded liability of $144.7 billion, and that's if you believe their numbers. Now, a Fitch report came out as well, and it highlighted instead that the unfunded pension liability, including other post-employment benefits, that's at a deficit of $206.5 billion. And again, there's another little caveat to that, because that's if your assumptions are all correct, which, you know, they have they assume a 7% return rate and all these other things. And so it's all kind of a little bit of a guessing game. Well, here to discuss this because, trust me, it's coming. Taxpayers are going to get burned, I think, once again in the spring if we don't raise enough awareness about it. They want to do some pension changes. And so here to discuss that and much more is my good buddy, Ted Dabrowski. He is the president of WirePoints, and he joins me now. Thanks so much for joining me, Ted, on this Sunday night.
Hey, Jeannie, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, how am I? Well, every time I think about what these teachers make in a pension, I basically don't want to pay any more taxes because I know where it's going to. I mean, these pensions, Tier 1 especially, is just unbelievably unaffordable. I put out an example today in my newsletter about a Tier 1 employee, a newly retired Tier 1 employee, newly retired. Okay, so that means like they just finished retiring. After 35 years, which is pretty much a standard work time frame, 35 years, I mean, their annual pension is going to be in excess of $90,000 on average for 35 years of work, and they will have really retired at, and the average age is age 60 that they're retiring at. So, I mean, this compared to Social Security and compared to what other people have put in to their own retirements on top of a Social Security. I mean, we're just feeding a beast here.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how big these pensions are, and I think people don't understand it. We often talking about the big pensioners, the superintendents, and they get massive pensions. They'll have pensions of $350,000, some close to $400,000, lifetime pension benefits of $10 million when you add it all up over their lifetime. So they're huge, but the big problem, there's not that many of those guys, right? The real problem is the average pension, and the average pension you just talked about a career worker. $93,000 pension, that's massive. And, and the average is probably across all state employees is close to $80,000 a year. And then they grow at 3% automatically. So that's the big problem is that we have these massive pensions and we've created something really unfair where these government employees get these guaranteed pensions. They have guaranteed employment contracts, guaranteed raises. And the ordinary people, everyday Illinoisans, they don't have any of that. They have to keep paying higher and higher and higher taxes to pay for those pensions. And so that's a real unfairness of our system in Illinois, and it's not sustainable.
No, it's not sustainable. And I mean, we do talk about teachers the most because they're the largest state pension fund by a long shot. But the pension problem is also a problem at the local level, too. I mean, and so that's really what's feeding the beast for property tax increases. And in some cases, like you came down and testified, I think it was years ago, that every dollar that the city of Springfield collects for property taxes goes only to pay pensions. It doesn't go for roads. It doesn't go for public safety. It doesn't go for your water services. It goes for nothing but pensions. And then they had to pile on more of that as well from just the regular fees that they collect on other stuff. So, I mean, it's a huge looming problem. I mean, how do you do this? I mean, some people are like, oh, Illinois is not the worst pensions. Connecticut's worse. But you would pretty much agree with me that Illinois probably has the worst pension situation.
Yeah, no, I would say it's by far the worst because it's not just, there's a state level, but like you said, it's a local level. Mm-hmm. And, you've got places like Peoria and Decatur, all those places are in big trouble. They're even starting to pass what they call pension taxes, right. Dedicated to pay down pensions. And, sure, Connecticut's bad, New Jersey's bad, and they're all bad. But, our combination of probably, the corruption with the property taxes, with the pensions and all that is probably the worst in the country. But we could argue that, but we're bad.
But we could also look north to Wisconsin, and if I'm not mistaken, their pensions are close to or nearly fully funded. And last time I checked, they still have people they're hiring for teaching and being a police officer up there.
Yeah, there's all of our neighbors. It's pretty fascinating. You mentioned the Fitch report. The Fitch report also, they included some other debts, but they also just did pensions. And it's fascinating because, we are the worst in the country by far. And I'm talking about the state level. Right? You mentioned $144 billion is the official pension debts right now. Fitch calculates it with a slightly different discount rate, not to get technical, but they say it's $172 billion for Illinois. So right there, it's already higher than what our government workers say it is, or government officials say it is. Mm-hmm. But what's amazing is if you compare Fitch compare Illinois to Iowa. Iowa's only got $2 billion. It's not like zero, right? We have 172 billion. They have 2. Wisconsin has 4 billion. Michigan 8. Indiana 11, and we have 172. So we're kind of like we're out of control. Where we're at.
We're not even in the ballpark. I mean,
right.
We're in the stratosphere. I mean,
right.
It's crazy.
But let's be clear. Right. But let's be clear. We're not talking about pensions because we care about pensions by itself. These pensions mean massive property tax hikes and massive income tax hikes at some point, because if this is debt and it has to be paid down, it's got to come from somewhere. And if we won't reform pensions, then the only thing the government can do is come after us and come after us with massive tax hikes so they can pay these pensions.
Well,
it's a matter of time.
Yeah, no. So I mean, that is exactly. I mean, obviously, it crowds out all sorts of other spending. The pension payment for state pensions in the budget last year was about $11 billion, 20% of our overall budget, and that number is not going to go down. That's going to continue to climb. They want to do 90% funding by 2045, but that number's going to climb. I think when I was looking at it, it's going to climb well into like 2039, 37, something like that. So we're going to have to continue to pay more based on the pension ramp that we have. Where's that money going to come from? It's going to come either in the form of a tax hike or diminished services. That's what's going to happen here. And so, or they're going to push them down the local level. That would balloon pensions. I mean, but this is, I can't stress it enough to people, right? They have created a monster here, and they refuse to reform it.
Yeah, I really think it's one of the it's one of the several litmus tests we should have for voting for a politician. Do you support do you support pension reform, and do you support amending the Constitution so that we can do big pension reforms? And if a politician says no, then they should be booted. I mean, it's that simple, because you can't. No serious politician can say they want lower taxes or lower property taxes or some property tax relief for you, and at the same time say they won't support pension relief. You can't lower taxes here without changing pensions. So
yeah, yeah, no, I mean that's definitely a case. I mean, I sat on pension committee for 4 years. I was in the legislature for 6 years, and the trajectory was I came in in 2013, and they were talking about doing a massive rewrite. It was called SB1. It was, redoing the pension. That was a hot potato. Finally, in December, they did pass it, but it had to go through a constitutional process. And of course, 18 months later, just like Madigan knew, and every other Democrat knew, that passed this fake pension reform, they all knew it was unconstitutional, and it certainly was. And I did not vote for that because I knew it was just, first of all, it wasn't enough of a reform to vote for it. They didn't have any numbers to back up what they were saying, and 3, it was obviously unconstitutional. So they were just going to play around with people and believe that they're going to get reform and run on having done reform when they really didn't. So I knew that was happening, and that's exactly what happened. But it is interesting. So we have Tier 1, and then in 2010, it was so bad they passed Tier 2. And then in 2013, they tried to pass another plan that didn't work at all. And then I think it was in 2016, 17, they passed Tier 3. Tier 3 has never, ever been enacted. They have never put the operating regulations together to actually do Tier 3, which is a little bit better. But we're on Tier 2. At the time that I was in office, I mean, New York had done Tier 6 pension reform back in the mid-'80s. And we're sitting here fumbling around with the worst pension debt, and our politicians cannot get their act together.
Well, and like I said, it doesn't just affect taxes, right? It affects investment. Warren Buffett was famous for saying, I don't know how many years ago now, 5 or 6 or 7, he said he would never build a plant in Illinois because he knew that he would be a target for those property tax hikes and tax hikes to pay down the pensions. He says anybody who builds a business here is going to be helping pay off those pensions. And he said he didn't want to do it. He'd rather be somewhere else where he didn't have that burden. And, that would be the case for anybody who moves to Indiana and puts a business there. There's no pension debts there. If they go to Iowa, there's no pension debts there. So it's a real disadvantage for Illinois. It's another killer for jobs and opportunity, and therefore for people.
Well, that's why Pritzker has to pay off every big job creator that he brings into the state. They're getting massive tax incentives on the backside because he can't otherwise make the case to actually build in Illinois if you actually look at the underlying financials of the state and know what you're in for. That's why he you know what? Oh, you want quantum computing center? Here's $500 million. Oh, Goshen, you want to come in? Here's $500 million. Rivian, you want to stay? Here's $827 million. Oh, how about settling the UAW strike with Stellantis? And no doubt there was provisions behind that, but Stellantis still can't see that to work. I mean, every big person, data centers, you name it, he's paying them all off because of the fundamentals in this state financially. If any, company with 1 ounce of brains says, I'll just go across the state line to Indiana or Iowa. Hey, Ted, we're going to take a short break. I want to come right back because I want to get to the meat of the discussion now, which is they made Tier 2. Now they want to completely scrap it and make everybody Tier 1, it looks like to me. And that could be really devastating for our situation. We'll be right back with The Real Story with Jeannie Ives.
On Monday, January 20th, Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. AM 560, The Answer, is throwing a party. Join us for our inauguration celebration on January 20th at Saddle Up Q in Aurora. Enjoy a brunch buffet with AM 560 listeners as we watch the inauguration of President Trump. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/Trump47. That's 560theanswer.com/Trump47.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
A lot of times people don't understand what a supplement is. A supplement is in addition to your regular foods. It's really just an incredible formula, and I've been doing nutrients for 43 years. It has a tremendous effect on how I feel, my well-being. I love the way it gives me all my supplements for fruits and vegetables, which I take a lot of anyway. But I find that this gives me that supplement that I was missing before.
Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
MyPillow is glad to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. The famous My Slippers. They haven't been on sale for over a year. Regular price $119.98, now only $59.98. The 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. From bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and be sure to use promo code LIBERTY to save on all MyPillow products. That's 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98 or the 6-piece towel sets for just $29.98. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free or use promo code LIBERTY at MyPillow.com.
Mike Gallagher sees relief coming.
Everything that is good about our country, they despise. They are anti-God. They are anti-patriotism. They are anti-law and order. They're anti-family. And finally, we got some normalcy coming back to the country.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's time for Christmas at Cantini. A time for laughter and joy. A time for cherished moments by coming together with the ones you love. Be awed by twinkling lights. Feel the thrill of gliding on ice. And enjoy the cozy warmth of s'mores by the fire. Cherish the moments together this holiday season at Christmas at Cantini. Get your tickets at Cantini.org. Sponsored by the Robert R. McCormick Foundation.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday night. If you're driving around and you're, just curious about what's going on in Illinois, well, one of the biggest things that's going to be going on in Illinois and that we need to talk about now is what they're going to do in terms of changing our pension systems. It's a massive undertaking to get pension changes, but when you own when you own the politicians because your union owns the politicians, it's much easier. And unbelievably, we've got some Republicans that are sounding like they're all in for some of these pension changes. So, first of all, I've got Ted Dabrowski with me. We moved from Tier 1 to Tier 2. So now you can't retire until you're 67 for a full retirement. You can pay that down to 62 if you want to. But you can't retire until you're 67. You have a salary cap for what is used to calculate your pension as the highest 8 of the last 10 years. You don't have a compound of 3% COLA. Instead, it's 3% of 1/2 of CPI. And so it is dramatically different than Tier 1. And people are saying, hey, you know what? This really isn't fair. I'm working alongside, doing the same work, and yet my pension's so much less. And by the way, they never changed what I have to pay in. I'm still paying the same 9% in that other people are paying. And so it seems like there seems to be some unfairness. But bigger than that, Ted, is this issue of whether or not it's compliant with Social Security. And they seem to be hanging their hat on that in order to get Tier 2 pension changes to be more beneficial. What can you tell us about that part?
Well, first, let's be clear. We're not talking about pension changes that are helpful to taxpayers. They're talking about making pensions even bigger again.
Yes.
So
yes.
That has to be clear, right? It's they want to increase the benefits, and some of them want to go like all the way and massively increase benefits. So here's what's happening. These Tier 2 benefits were passed in 2010 for starting 2011, and yes, they did dramatically reduce what a pensioner would get. If you start after 2011, you get a lesser pension when you retire than the people who started before 2011. And but they did it because, and the legislators did it because, we were in such deep trouble as a state that we had to do something to reduce the growth in these pension debts. And so we're still in trouble. Don't get me wrong, we're still in trouble, but those lower pensions are helping a lot. And now what's happening is that there's this potential rule that says, a person's pension must be at least as good as what that person would have gotten under Social Security if they were only under Social Security. And so this vague rule that nobody understands, it's part of a federal rule, but then it has a bunch of this IRS rules behind it. Nobody knows what the heck it is. And we at WirePoints, and we talk to you about this a lot too. Nobody knows exactly how big the problem is. First of all, nobody knows if there really is a problem right now because nobody has written and established that there is a problem. If there is a problem, nobody knows how big it is, and so there's this kind of fear about what might happen, and will the IRS come knocking on our door and stuff like that. And so suddenly everybody just wants to increase the pension benefits to avoid any trouble. But we're asking the question, wait a minute, show us where the problem is before you even think about doing anything, and let's find out what it is, and see if it's big or not, and even if it's there, let's see.
Yeah, so I don't understand why they won't do the math first, because the math doesn't seem that hard. And so what I did is I actually just I just said, look, we're 13 years into Tier 2. What's the average person making in Tier 2 for a salary among all the administrators, teachers? And I know it's skewed. It's an average, okay? But there's far more teachers than are administrators, even though the administrators have higher salaries. Regardless, I find out 13 years in, the average person in TRS, the Teachers Retirement System, which includes teachers and administrators, is making over $77,000. Well, you calculate that out. What are they going to be making 20 years from there when they're going to retire? Or even, 18 years from there, at 35 years if they retire. It's going to be at least at the cap. And if it's at least at the cap, which is what it's at right now, they're still going to make over $90,000 as a pension. And you're never going to see a Social Security benefit that high. You will never see it. In fact, by 2035, the Social Security system is supposed to be, kaput, broke.
Right.
And I mean, that's right when I'm supposed to be at max time to take it. And they're talking about massively reducing those payments to Social Security recipients or massively increasing employment taxes. So I actually don't believe them at all that the Tier 2 will be non-compliant with Social Security, but they refuse to do the math. So we have to make them do the math, make them do the calculation.
They should prove it to taxpayers. And here's the thing, they've gotten away with this every single time. And Jeannie, you've documented this so well. They've done whatever the heck they've wanted on pensions. They raised them whenever they wanted. And it's a little harder now because more of us are keeping an eye on it. But back then, they would just do whatever, and taxpayers just shut up, taxpayers, pay up.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to do again now. But there's a whole bunch of us watching now. The whole thing is really complex. But what's interesting about the whole thing, if there is a Tier 2 problem, we just talked about this. Are these benefits as much as Social Security? If there is a problem, it's not for the average pensioners. It's only for the rich, for the biggest pensioners. And that's what's really ironic about this. To fix the problem, what they have to do is make the biggest pensions even bigger. And that's what's crazy about it. That's why I say we should be fighting this, at the federal level. Why should they be making us bankrupt our state faster by raising the biggest pensions? Right? That's crazy. So, there's a big debate to be had.
Yeah, and I just don't believe those numbers either, because the biggest pensioners in our system, they're making $150, $200, $250 every year in, year out. And that's still going to continue based on the salaries and the calculation tools. That's still going to continue. There's no way that the max Social Security benefit, which right now is, about $58,000, if you're at the max, okay, there's no way that that's going to ever reach those pensions. So I think this is all a bunch of garbage, and I think they're just looking to exercise the ability to take more from taxpayers because they've got the power because the unions own the politicians.
Yeah.
I think it's disgusting. But we talk about, Ted, real quick though, we talk about how it's not like we want people in Social Security either. That's not a good system either. We don't want to push people in Social Security. Right. No, no new hire should want to be in Social Security with a 1% return after 40 years.
No, I talk about this a lot. A lot of people say, "Oh, just put our public sector employees in Social Security." I mean, if somebody wants that, okay, they should. That's what they want. But I wouldn't recommend it because, like you just said earlier, these things are going to get cut. I mean, there's going to be a massive reduction in I forget what year it is because
2035
towards insolvency,
mm-hmm.
And so I still argue if I were an employee, I'd say, and I also don't trust Illinois politicians to manage my pensions. You see what they've done to them. I still say, just give me my 401k. Give me a nice, good 401k. Let me manage my own money. I don't need the corrupt politicians to do it, and I don't need a bankrupt Social Security to do it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're putting 12% into Social Security. We're getting the average pensioners getting 1%. If you're in the higher level, you're losing money. You're losing money in Social Security, and you're putting you're putting over 12% in between employer and employee, 12.4%. It's outrageous. It's an outrageous. And so and meanwhile, the employer in the state of Illinois is putting 50% of payroll into pensions right now. And if you look at the normal costs, it's on average over 18% of payroll that's going into somebody else's pension, taxpayers paying for it.
But I think the hard part is, and this is on us and the media and everybody, it's really hard for people to connect the dots between these pensions and their property tax bills and their home values too. I mean, that's the other big thing. And how many of your neighbors have left. But all these things add up, and they squeeze people out. They make pain, and that's why we see a lot of our neighbors move out of the state.
All right, he's Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints. Ted, thank you so much for joining me on this informative interview about Illinois pensions. All right, we'll be right back with the Edgar County Watchdogs. Thank you so much, Ted. Appreciate you.
Larry Elder sees lies flying in Washington.
Where do you want to cut? The first thing I see on the table is Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
Did you read the article, Representative Clyburn? They set out exactly what they intend to do. Not one word about cutting Social Security, not one word about cutting Medicare, not one word about cutting Medicaid. He's lying.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. New York City police make an arrest after a woman is set on fire and burns to death on a subway train.
The suspect used what we believe to be a lighter to ignite the victim's clothing. which became fully engulfed in a matter of seconds.
Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, the suspect was found after police released photos and video. President Biden signs a bipartisan bill preventing the government from shutting down.
And we were able to pass a very narrow continuing resolution that kept the government open, kept our troops getting paid through March, but also, took care of our farmers and those victims of the hurricane disasters this year.
New York Republican Representative Nick Langworthy. America is listening to Fox News.
It's Reveille. When Mayor Brandon Johnson proposed a $300 million property tax increase along with other tax and fee hikes to close a budget hole, Chicago aldermen unanimously voted it down. After a couple more proposals, it looks like the mayor's final offer is no property tax hike, but various tax and fee increases, gimmicks with contract savings, very modest budget cuts, and more debt, of course. But Chicago taxpayers shouldn't accept that. Grant funding alone is up nearly $200 million, and still in the budget is $500,000 for a reparations study. And then Illinois Policy Institute reported on the boondoggle spending happening with Mayor Johnson's affordable housing program. It's a doozy and should call into question everything in Johnson's budget. Johnson plans on spending $30.6 million to build 44 affordable apartments located in the near West Side. That amounts to $700,000 per apartment. IPI noted that the average cost of a comparable two-bedroom home in the area is only $126,000. Like everything else government in Illinois pays for, this project is overpriced and not affordable for taxpayers. When asked about the high building cost, Johnson's housing spokesperson wrote, "Affordable housing is not just about providing a roof over someone's head. It's about creating safe and sustainable living environments that enhance the quality of life for residents. Therefore, they should be built to a high standard with high-quality materials." Well, what's in these apartments? Custom cabinets, top-of-the-line appliances, walk-in closets and pantries? There's nothing fair or equitable about taxpayers paying for housing that costs 5 times more than the market, and additionally funding those who will be living in the housing with public welfare benefits. Chicago taxpayers, it's time for a revolt. I'm Jeannie Ives. Check out The Real Story with me on Sunday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. There are limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
We now return to The Real Story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. We know what that music means. It's time for the Watchdogs. And so here with me is Kirk Allen and John Kraft, Edgar County Watchdogs. Guys, thanks so much for coming on again. There's always never a lack of topics when we come to your segment. None whatsoever. And I even had to call you today because I needed advice, and you guys are the experts on what is, what's proper and what's not, especially when it comes to public bodies, open meetings, FOIA, you name it. And so I called you because what we found out, we had some people who let us know what was happening at Batavia High School. In this particular case, there was an English teacher who was selected a book with graphic sexual passages in it, and she was teaching it to minors. And when the community found out, quite a few people stood up and spoke about it at school board meetings. And believe it or not, according to them, the official school board meeting video was edited. It was edited out because apparently one of the speakers mentioned the teacher's name by name. Well, that they're fair game. Teachers are public servants, and they are fair game. You can call them out. In another case, they said that she started reading the graphic parts of the passage, and that was edited out because apparently they didn't want that out on the YouTube channel. And then in another case, apparently they have also altered the official public record by literally deleting certain speakers from the video. Now, this is all going to be FOIA'd. But Kirk, you said essentially this is true, they could be subject to a felony.
Thanks for having me, Jeannie. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll definitely need to know some more details on it. But under the Local Records Act, and I'll quote from it, any person who knowingly, without lawful authority, and with the intent to defraud any party, public officer, or entity, alters, destroys, defaces, removes, or conceals any public record commits a Class 4 felony. And this isn't the first time we've seen public bodies hide public comments that they're embarrassed by.
Okay. Well, I mean, I do have some people that, not me. I mean, they wanted to FOIA it. I said, okay, FOIA it. And I gave them the statute that you provide for me. So I just thank you for being a resource because you'd already done the work for me. So that's great. Before we move on to your stories, though, I do want to alert people. I do really think that you should go to our website, breakthrough-ideas.com. Click on Lori Higgins' article, Batavia Public High School Leaders Make a Mess. And you can read all about this book and what the district did and her whole, Laura used to be an English teacher at Deerfield High School. And she says this is, when you have a teacher teaching a modern feminist text like this with particular passages that are so egregiously sexual in nature, she wants to teach it. It's because she wants to teach it. It's not because she can't find something else. It's because she wants to put that in kids' minds. Lori wrote, no responsible, decent adult equipped with good judgment would have chosen to teach a novel to other people's minor children with even one of the above passages, because we detail them in her article. How depraved have adults become that they cannot immediately see that porn is unfit for consumption by minors or anyone else. So they did pull this book, Batavia High School did, but, now we need to find out why it was even there. So I just wanted to alert people to that before we got to, Kirk and John's other Watchdog stories, because this was an important thing to cover. So, all right.
Well, I've got a real important question for that teacher, because the quote that is on your the story you covered on that,
mm-hmm.
Although the book has received numerous awards, upon reflection, I acknowledge that some parts may be considered inappropriate for some students. Some students?
No, all students. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't even believe this woman still has a job.
Well, that's what, I know. She was, the text connects thematically with other texts she's teaching was her excuse. She wrote an excuse letter, too, back to the parents. We're studying literary devices, and this novel is brimming over with literary devices. Yeah, when you're talking about, you can imagine there are literary devices. The book has won prestigious awards. Well, Lori Higgins takes that apart. I want you to go to breakthrough-ideas.com. I want you to read Lori Higgins' article about this, about Batavia. She goes, a word about awards and prizes. First, I can't find a single award won by this novel. So Lori researched it. She can't find an award won by the novel. It was long-listed for a couple of awards, short-listed for another, won none. But Barack Obama and Jenna Bush really liked it. And in fact, the person who teed me up with this story said that the cover that they used for this book had on the bottom, best book by one of Barack Obama's best book winners. And don't tell me that you're not putting that political thought into kids' heads too.
You put 3 points. You put 3 points up in your article on this, Jeannie.
Yeah.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat those 3 things on national radio?
No, I could not read those on radio. I would be out. I mean, they would be. No, I can't. I can't say it at all.
That's my point. It would be illegal for you to do that. You'd be fined, sanctioned, possibly lose the license, for the station. I mean, I can't believe this is in our schools. I know I've heard about it, I've read about it, but this is so over the top. I can't believe she has not been put on administrative leave.
No, they think that they can get away with this. They think they can get away with this. Do not, and their new superintendent came from California, so maybe anything goes there. But nobody called her on the carpet. Where's the English department head? Where's the principal? Where's the superintendent? Where's the curriculum administrator? Where's anybody looking at this? And they knew it was wrong because they pulled it. As soon as they got a complaint, they pulled it. So what the hell, Batavia? What's going on? And I you know what? Batavia High School is not the only high school teaching filth to kids. They are not the only one.
No, it's not.
They're not. These teachers are out of control. She made an independent decision. Just like the teacher did to my daughter, giving her a, questionnaire, asking her what her pronouns were. Well, I got that stopped because I called immediately. Said, you're not going to ask those questions.
Good project for the parents up there. In fact, statewide, everybody listening. Mm-hmm. The School for Good Mothers is the name of the book. Go see if your library at your school has that book. If it does, you need to be banging on the podium at the next public meeting.
Yep. Okay, we got to take a short break, and then, at Kirk and John, let's just pull one article or one good topic from each of the ones that you sent me earlier. We'll be right back. This is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives.
My name is Dr. Joe Mealy. I've been a dentist for 56 years, and I'm a certified nutritional consultant. I started taking Balance of Nature 15 years ago. I think most people think when they eat fruits and vegetables, this is their idea of fruits and vegetables. I had an apple today. I had a pear today. I had a banana. That's their fruits and vegetables. They don't understand that each one of those fruits and vegetables has different nutrients than the others. Balance of Nature has made a significant difference in my life, in my wife's life. I feel we're on this earth to help each other, and if other people can benefit from my experience, I think that would be one of the best ways I could justify still being here at 81.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered?
Hi, we're trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for our boss. Can you deliver a Barbie to Bonnie and Bartlett?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver Legos to Landon and Lamont?
We can deliver that.
Can you deliver pickleball paddles to Pam and Palatine?
We can deliver that.
Hey, big guy, quick delivery service can help.
More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or air shipment. The safe, licensed Quick Delivery Service team offers quick door-to-door service. No chimney required. Quick Delivery Service also does not deliver packages in a sleigh driven by 9 reindeer. Place your order today. Visit quickdelivery.com. That's quickdelivery.com.
Hello, this is Randy Seiler from Quick Delivery Service in Schaumburg, Illinois.
From our family to yours, wishing you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in 2025.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. We still have the Watchdogs with us. Just as a little bit of a follow-up there, my producer walked in and basically said, well, if you read those passages on the air, you would be fined, but I would be fired. So there you go. Yeah, that's how bad they are. So, hey, Kirk, you know what? You had this story up. I thought it was pretty interesting. The McDonough County Sheriff, he was wrong about a deputy reinstatement that was ordered by an arbitrator. What's this? This seems like there's a whole lot in this one story that I would like to know more about.
Well, this is an ongoing feud between a local police chief who also is a deputy and the sheriff. And long story short, the sheriff is absolutely out of control. Put him on administrative leave, claiming he lied about a report. It appears there's somewhat of a cover-up on a high-speed pursuit. And this deputy, he stood up and did the right thing, and the sheriff put him on administrative leave and claimed he lied on the report and went through the grievance process, and they've emphatically said that the employer, the sheriff, was wrong. This guy didn't lie. He completely took his report out of context and ignored many parts of it. That this sheriff has banned people from his jail. Can you imagine being a police chief and you're banned from taking a prisoner to the county jail? That's what this guy's doing.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. I understand he's also banned some state police officers from the jail, and he is literally out of control in McDonough County. He's played games with us on FOIAs. He's wrapped up in a federal lawsuit, and he just happens to be the vice chairman of the Illinois Sheriff's Association.
Well, there you have it. Screw up and move up, I guess. Write your own rules. Write your own rules, and you get to write them for the rest of the state.
Right. They like to use certain types of messaging apps to where, as soon as you send the message, it deletes. So they're hiding records. I mean, this thing, I can't wait for discovery in the federal case to see how much stuff is really going on down there. Because what we know on the backside is shocking. I can't believe the guy still got a badge.
The hell? Oh, good grief. Okay, John, why don't you cover this, because you guys both had this kind of teed up. Ford County, with the advice of a state's attorney, used a secret ballot to select their next board chair. And then you say after you busted them out, they had to fix it. And ironically, the AG position on the subject was directly tied to a binding opinion that you got when your airport board tried to do the same thing. So the state's attorney basically had to admit that he was wrong, but of course he never apologized for the lousy legal advice. And you're saying the same thing happened in Marion County? What's going on, John?
Yeah, the same thing happened in Marion County. The same thing happened in the Kankakee Veterans Assistance Commission also. These people, when they want to appoint a chairman, they want to make people feel good, don't hurt their feelings that they vote against them, so they just pass out papers and tell them to write a guy's name on the paper, and then they collect the papers, and nobody knows who voted for who. That violates the Open Meetings Act.
Yeah, it's a public body. You have to have a public vote.
There's no secret ballots, in Illinois local government. Probably not state government either, as far as I know. This is the first time. It happens all the time. The state's attorney was there in Ford County. The state's attorney or his assistant was present in Marion County. And the Kankakee Veterans Assistance Commission, they did a secret ballot for the chairman and for hiring a executive director.
Well, but what's funny about this is that you guys got an AG opinion about this years ago, right? Because your airport board's case was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so everybody should have known, and this shouldn't even be an issue.
I know, and
that's what's frustrating, right?
Ford County did it the last time they voted for a chairman too. It was one of our commenters one of our readers reviewed Ford County Board's minutes, and sure enough, 2 years ago they did the same thing.
I don't know. I mean, this isn't that hard. Also, it's just common sense, don't you think? You can't have a public body and take a secret vote.
Right. Yeah, and that's what happened. And if you remember, that community college up there in DuPage County.
Yeah, COD.
They did a hold your hand up vote in closed session. Yeah, College of DuPage.
Right, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
They did a hold your hand up vote in closed session to renew the.
Oh, that was just a
extend
test. That was just a test vote.
That was fine, but they didn't go to open session and vote again.
Yeah, that's
otherwise,
right.
they can't claim it a test vote. And that, what was that, 6 or 7 years later, they got that AG opinion back saying, which essentially invalidated his extended contract.
Right. Right. Yeah. No. I mean, it was consequential because they did that vote wrong. Yeah. It all matters.
That saved him what, $300,000-$400,000 right there.
I know it. Bruder still got a big payout. It sucks. All right.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Hey, George, do we have to go to break or am I still on? Kind of forgot here where we're at in this. Well, I'm going to continue on, actually. Hey, I wanted to talk about your other story here. You had that the AG determines Madison County's Agency for Community Transit is a public body. Why is that even a question?
They're not for profit. Madison County Transit, the board members are appointed by the county board. The Madison County Transit board members opened up a nonprofit that they appoint the board members to, and hire and gave them a 15-year no bid, $500,000 a year contract to run Madison County Transit business. So the agency is Madison County Agency for Community Transit, whose sole job is conduct all the business of Madison County Transit, the public body.
Oh, that's outrageous.
I know. For a while,
it's Madison County.
If you want to hear the whole story, we can talk about it next time. It is so offensive to the taxpayer, it's unbelievable. And Rob Dorman is the one down there that spearheaded this issue with this nonprofit, which has now finally been labeled a public body.
All right. Okay, that's all we have time for tonight. Thanks a lot, John and Kirk, for joining me. We will hear from you next week. We're not taking a break. Not here at Breakthrough Ideas. Not here at The Real Story. We don't take a break. We'll be back next week with more stories. Thanks for joining me on The Real Story. We'll be right back to tidy things up. Got more to say.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. It is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. It's just another story that I really popped up that kind of bothers me because, we've been one of the leading critics of course, the Goshen deal, the special deals to Rivian. Also, a company that has never made a profit at all. And so I had these, wrote about these in my newsletter. So if you don't get my newsletter, sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com. You get about once or twice a week. If we have a hot story like we did with the Batavia High School, we'll put that out separately. But I do highly encourage you to sign up for it. Anyway, here's the deal. So Governor Pritzker is spending $20 million to buy 70 electric buses. Okay, and they're going to various school districts around the state. Forest Park's getting 5, Joliet Township High School is getting 10, Marengo's getting 2. Whatever. So 70 buses are going out. Now, this is a boondoggle. This is an absolute boondoggle. And we don't even know if the buses are going to really work, and be able to deliver people because they're unreliable. These electric buses are unreliable. I want to remind you that back in earlier this year, we got notice from Diane Benjamin, she's a watchdog down in Normal, that Rivian contacted the Normal bus transit people to find out how to charge, how they could get their vehicles charged. And Normal in the winter, and Normal Public Transportation came back and said, hey, we only charge our buses inside a heated garage and never between the hours of 2 and 7 p.m. because it's too expensive. So now you're putting 70 electric buses out there and they're unreliable. You can't even assure that a whole charge will get them through an entire route. And I heard that I got a notice on that after I wrote this article. Somebody else said to me, hey, look, we know that we can't depend on these buses making it to the whole route. And you're going to put children in those buses. I don't think it's a good idea at all. On a similar note, I also pointed this out because Crane Chicago Business wrote an article saying that the UAW wants to unionize Rivian once the company is profitable. And Cranes wrote, Rivian has never posted a quarterly adjusted profit. Rivian's never posted a quarterly adjusted profit. Well, then why are we giving a company like that money? Why? Well, we are, though. Of course we are. Anyway, that's all I have for tonight. I just want to wish everybody on this channel a Merry, Merry Christmas. We have a great content. Next Sunday, we're going through the list of the top stories in all different categories. You won't want to miss it. Thanks a lot for joining me. This is Jeannie Ives on The Real Story.
If your approach to everyday aches and pains is to mask them, feel better for a few hours only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again, it's time to try Relief Factor. And the good news is Relief Factor makes that easy. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it. How? Well, its unique formula of ingredients helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors. It's 100% drug-free. And for so many people, the results are game-changing, even life-changing. So give it a try. Right now, their 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app. Or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
The border remains a key focus for the president-elect. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News. Donald Trump blasting the Biden administration's handling of Arizona's southern border.
Yeah, people that don't know what they're doing, then we're going to change it because your border is a disaster. Your border is a disaster, what's going on.
Fox's Ed Lawrence has more from America Fest in Arizona.
This speech sounded a lot like a campaign victory speech. Now, in it, he dropped another foreign policy bombshell, this time putting Panama on notice.
If the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America.
This is the first time the president-elect returned to Arizona since the election. His border czar telling me he hopes to utilize the military. The president-elect says that he will...